understand lighting, your life as a cinematographer will get that much better. Honestly, I was the first one to really underestimate how to light a scene. I just thought that because of my line of work, more into run and gun documentary, I just didn't need any lighting and I could just get along with natural light. But the more I develop my career, the more I actually learn that lighting is everything you have to learn. Doesn't matter if you're using one light, two lights, 100 lights. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to create 4 different ways you can light the same scenes, all by using 1 or 2 lights. The main key light that I'm going to use is the Engel Fisher SL1. This incredible 400 watt light from iFootage is what I need because some of the scenes I want to recreate the sun setting right on this window right here where it would never set, for example. The second light I'm going to use, it's a tube light, but you can use pretty much any RGB tiny light. You don't need a tube light. A tube light is just easier to move around and make the light looks a bit more realistic, but you don't necessarily need a tube light. And the third need is a negative. This little black circular thing reflector, I think I paid something like $10, so you have no excuses. This is actually very cheap, and any filmmaker and cinematographer should own one because it's just easy. Right, so what I want to recreate is actually something super simple, and this is why set design is one of the things that most filmmakers, me included, I always underestimate. And in this case, my set is, well, my desk. So I removed a bunch of cables that I don't need. I moved a glass of water and switched it to a glass of whiskey just because it looks a bit nicer. And then, since I will be just kind of sitting here reading a book, the book that I'm reading, it's something very colorful that is going to actually match the background of my screen, which will be on and will be waves crashing through. So me reading this book, camera will be set right here. We're going to be shooting on a Sony a7S III with a Helios 58mm because I think this would give a good vibe to it. And then the next thing is wardrobe. I'm not going to wear this same t-shirt because if I wear this t-shirt, as you can see, I kind of get lost within the whole room because there's nothing really that pops me up. So I'm going to switch this t-shirt up and wear something more beige. All right, now that the set is ready and I'm also ready, I put my t-shirt on, I got my hat. I think it all looks good. Everything's ready. It's time to understand what kind of lighting we want to recreate. For this specific shot, I want to make 4 different, very different ways of lighting the same scene. So the first one will be complete daylight. And as you can see in this example that I found on FrameSet, again, it's very important to find out other filmmakers, our other cinematographers create light and use light in their favor. So what I do all the time, I go on FrameSet and just scroll through until I find something that I like, and I base my scene, my lighting, all on the same scene. So we found a daylight, we found a sunset one or sunrise, we found a blue hour, and we found a clear nighttime shot. And this is the 4 that we're going to recreate all in the same framing, just right here. So the first one we're going to recreate is daylight. And obviously in this scene, the light is bouncing all around the room, but she has a very nice contrast on her shadow backside. So definitely we're going to use this big boy outside at 5600 Kelvin, which is daylight. We're going to use a negative to create some contrast. And then possibly we're going to use this little guy right here that's now kind of side lighting me, which is a Cinepeer, which is a Zion Cinepeer tube light. We're going to use this one to add a bit more of like bounce light and to just light my face a little bit better and not have just like a one-sided light. I think this is kind of the frame that I want to get, but the problem that we got here is that because I'm shooting on a Helios 58mm 44-2, when the light up here, hits it, you get this weird loss of contrast, which I don't necessarily want. So I think I need to move the light from here to maybe behind over there, just so it doesn't do this contrast. Also, just in case you're wondering, I'm using the new Sony app, the monitoring control, and this thing is insane. You just connect it with the Wi-Fi and you see exactly what the camera sees. So now I can just walk outside keep this on, and I can see exactly where the light won't create this weird kind of contrasty problem. The problem is that I like the flare of the Helios, so I will test the light. If I don't like it, I'll just put it back, and we'll deal with this later. All right, I think that's a little bit better. Definitely a little bit better. There's not as much contrast. There's still a bit of a flare up there. The only problem right now is that all of this part over here, it's too dark. So we're gonna light it up. And also my face is way too dark. So I'm thinking to use the light tube to just pretty much put it somewhere up here and light this whole area up a bit better. Here we go. Now you can see that this whole side is blacked out of me, which is beautiful from this negative. This is kind of giving me a bit of bounce and light. My desk is nice and lit, and there's a nice light in the background. I think this looks pretty good, so I'm gonna take my mic off and record the scene. Moving on to the sunset scene. Sunset scene is kind of similar, but different. I don't think I'll need this one light here that I just took off right now because I have to charge it anyways. But I'm gonna take the light and move it a lot more in a diagonal direction. I'm gonna add a lot more smoke in the room, and I'm gonna hit the light here so that it reflects straight into my face. This is at least the idea. I'm gonna leave the negative here because it's probably the only place it will be needed for pretty much all of the 4 shots. Now moving on to the more blue-hour one, we actually have to wait because the sun actually hasn't set yet, so I think it will set in about 15-20 minutes. The blue-hour look is going to be, I think, pretty simple to recreate. We just need the light to go down. I'm going to keep the negative here, still going to be here, and we need the same light, just in a very low intensity, point towards the bottom or the top so that it bounces all around and it doesn't look like a light, it just looks like generic look coming through. And then we're going to use the tube light to enhance this, to make my whole desk look a bit more alive, a bit more interesting rather than just dark. That's all there is to it. So you might notice something different here. I actually put a pillowcase on top of this light tube, and the reason is because I tried it before and it was a little bit too harsh. So I wanted a bit more softness in the scene. So I decided to opt for a pillowcase because this is what I had handy. You can use whatever you want, but pillowcase works just fine. Third shot is done. Moving on to the last one, which will be probably the most complicated to recreate. A single top light and darkness everywhere else. We have to wait until the actual night comes, which probably be like 30 minutes. Yeah, we're gonna rig this guy up so that it just pretty much gonna be on top of here somewhere. And that should work as perfect top light. We'll leave the pillowcase on. We'll get going. Hope you guys liked this video. If you did so, leave a like, subscribe, and all of those things. And I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.